Namaste, Jai Bharat. This, of course, is my speculation alone. It is no evidence proves. I'm unable to authenticate. I'm just speculating. I'm just speculating for everyone to see. But then this speculation is not simple speculation. It is based on some kind of logic and some kind of conjectures. Now the Bharat Pakistan conflict, there are many people who find this conflict interesting for their own reasons and their own multiple reasons. Let's start with the arms. The arms is the best business in the world because the profit is goes sometimes 500%. The profit is enormous in arms deal. You get it sold for enormous amount of money. Actually, what you say is a price, and those who want to buy these arms and ammunition are actually desperate in buying it for at any cost. And of course, then there will be a lot of deals, loans and like things like that. So, one aspect is arms deal. Now look at China. China's arms market has gone down. That's because all the weapons failed miserably. Though China blames Pakistan's inefficiency in using it, that's their thing to settle for others to find out. So China's weapons, Pakistan is using their air defense system. Pakistan is using China's air defense system, and the so-called stealth 4.5, 4.2, 4.3.5, something like that they'll use. Generation stealth jet fighters they were using. All these things become ineffective in front of us. Number one. On the other hand, Bharat has developed Bharat's own air defense system apart from the S400 and another version also, I don't know that number, that we obtained from Russia. So we were using whichever is necessary. We had our Akash Shastra, our own air defense system we had developed, and the Pinake kind of launches. We had many weapons developed by us, and at times through the help of Soviets. Not Soviets, they are no more. The Russians. So this, of course, is developed by us. Now our air defense system is mostly very effective, actually 100% effective with zero failure. And Chinese air defense system was 100% flop and zero success rate. Now this is actually too much in the world of arms deal or in the world of these conflicts. So naturally, China's weapons shall receive setbacks. They normally sell it for cheap rate, or sometimes even give it installment, or sometimes they will give it on loan. That's how they do it. And they have other objectives. They know how to make. They are very good businessmen, China. They know how to get the money back. So this is one thing. Then US, their F-16s are supposed to be one of the best aircraft in the world, but the F-16s were vulnerable. I think they were shot down, some F-16. We haven't violated the border, as I understand. We hadn't gone deeper into Pakistan, or even the Pakistan's jet F-16s or some other things, fighter aircraft, which before they cross line of actual control, before they cross into Bharat, our air defense did neutralize them. So there is no claim that this many we shot down, that many we shot down. Let them say we don't want to say. But our official authorities say that we did shoot down some aircraft. How many they don't want to say. That is not very significant. But the point that F-16 is vulnerable, the F-16 company receives a setback. Their credibility is at a loss. So this arms deal people are worried, they are concerned, they are interested, because the battle is a place where you actually get your weapons tested. And what we see in it is very bad for China. They of course blames Pakistan its inefficiency, and very good for Bharat. We have done our own weapons, and of course many people want to buy our weapons. That's number one. Number two, there's a possibility. This again, I'm telling you, is my speculation. There's a possibility that behind this Pahalgam incident, China must be having a very good hand. They must be having something very serious to play. For one more reason is why I say this. See, China is economically facing disaster, and international companies who actually base themselves in China are either shifting or planning to shift to other places where one destination is mostly Bharat. They would like to come to Bharat. So China became rich through the operations of the international production units settling themselves up and the productions, and they get their benefits from that. And we know why is it so that the big companies, they make things cheap in China under their quality control, quality assurance, quality supervision. They get their product well made and they market it in a relatively cheaper. If they make it in some other nations, the cost of production will be much higher than this. So, given the low cost of production in China, and then given the technical expertise, they were depending on China for the last 25 years plus or so. So, this made China a very rich country, and now, of course, the Chinese dictatorship wanted to become number one police, and they already shown that technique, that tendency to others, and they behave rather like a rogue nation. Pakistan is an established rogue nation. China tends to be a rogue nation, given a chance. This is again what I feel. Now, so with this, after understanding the intentions of China, activities of China, basing on the track history, the other world, especially the US, wanted, that US imposed a tariff on China, blocking their trade. So the companies were actually forced. If the tariff goes on like this, it doesn't make any sense for them to exist in China because they can't sell their product with that kind of price at other places. So they had this plan of shifting themselves elsewhere, maybe countries like Vietnam or Thailand or Taiwan, or to other most attractive destinations is Bharat, because we have an advantage here for the Europeans, which China doesn't have, but Thailand and Philippines and all, they have language. People in English in Bharat speak English by and large. Most people do speak English, number one. Number two, the level of education is good. People are qualified, academically qualified, technically qualified, and they have work efficiency. The only place where China can outfit Bharatiya workers is their kind of communist discipline. Communist discipline means absolutely slavery. Absolute slavery. You just can't speak. You just do. You just do whatever is told. You will have to take whatever is given. Now, that things don't exist in Bharat because it's a democracy. Now, that advantage the companies operating in China has. So long as the government supports these companies, there shall be no labor problem in any envisaged situations. They can't, because they are under kind of communist dictatorial discipline. So that part is where they have an edge. But in all of the respects, Bharat has an edge. Of course, somebody would complain that Bharat do not have the infrastructure that China has as it on now. But then let them also recall when the companies went to China, what infrastructure they had. So infrastructure develops as need arises, and we are capable of doing it. And of course, you must always remember this is democracy, where things may not move as fast as you want in a dictatorship. That's there. So we should, but people, those are Democrats, should know how to exist in democracy also. It may take a little more time, or it may take some kind of negotiations, but things will amicably work. No one is hostile to you in a democracy, that's it. But in a dictatorship, if someone turns hostile to you, you're just finished. You're completely finished. So the companies are moving to Bharat. And Bharat is leaping forward, as the international authorities say, economically. Bharat's GDP is growing with an amazing pace. It was, it is fifth largest, but moving very fast towards being fourth largest economy in the world by this 2025. That's a prediction. That's a prediction. So this, of course, shocks China. This goes against the Chinese interest. So on the one hand, China wants to be friendly with Bharat, to sell their items with Bharat stamp, and that, of course, they know, they realize it can't happen with us. That kind of deceptions, we don't think we will be in support of China. We will not do anything for money. That's one thing sure, that Bharat won't do anything for money. We have a built-in ethics and morals into all our activities. So anything we won't do for obtaining money, where wealth is needed, we'll go for more or less, to a large practical extent, we will resort to righteous path. Dharma we call in Sanskrit. We will go for righteous path. So, in time, see, there is a difference between revolution and evolution. Revolution is communist concept. Evolution is a normal kind of democracy. So, evolution takes more time than revolution, which is sudden change, sudden drastic change. So, this difference shall remain. So, things will take or shall take their own time. But nonetheless, China is afraid that Bharat is growing. Their industries are shifting to Bharat mostly, by and large. So they wanted to retard the economic development, the progress of Bharat. So if Pakistan, they have nothing to lose. That's the great thing with Pakistan. They have absolutely nothing to lose. Whatever they do, they'll remain in square one because they're already in square one. They have nothing to lose. They must have programmed Pakistan, processed and programmed Pakistan to make the terrorism a production and commodity and for distribution. They must have somehow made Pakistan to enter into battle with us, and that is Pahalgam incident. Otherwise, such foolish act they cannot do. After seeing this, the position of Bharat, our military activities, military strength, and the unity of the nation, and such a strong rule, even in democracy, such a strong rule, they wouldn't do this mistake. But then they were made to do the mistake in the interest of China. This is what I think. Number one. Secondly, suddenly something else happened in Pakistan. Their nuclear arsenals were supposed to be kept in a place called Kirana Hills. Now only we come to know it, we don't know. And something happened, some missile must have hit here and there. There's definite news that there is radiation coming out. And the experts from US and the boron metal sand actually from Nile Valley were brought from Egypt. So this all indicates that there is nuclear radiation taking place there, which indicates that a missile must have hit at least the doors, at least the entrance of Kirana Hills, where the nuclear warheads were kept. So that with that, Pakistan definitely gets scared, because these nuclear warheads, if they start leaking radiation, it first affects them, and it affects all of us. It affects everyone nearby. So that's something which no one does. I'm sure it's not done deliberately. That's what hit the doors. If Bharat wanted to hit, they could have hit correctly. We have now proven our efficiency in precision strike. So something must have gone wrong, or they must have been trying to arm the nuclear war. Something must have gone wrong. But the missile hit nearby. That's one thing. The missile hit that Noor Khan base, etc. Noor Khan base was hit and destroyed to a great extent. So there's a possibility that their warheads, which were kept in supposed to be in safe, very safe situations, as per the protocols, where could something happened, so radiation. So naturally, Pakistan gets scared. They go to request the US to somehow get this thing stopped, and the US of course intervenes and requests Bharat, and Bharat says let them ask us. Then over conversation there is a ceasefire. Now interestingly, the ceasefire was spoken, and in less than 3 hours time there were ceasefire violations from Pakistan. Why? There were ceasefire violations from Pakistan. Why? This is the second reason to think that China's involvement. China do not want the war to end because the war should continue if Bharat has to suffer some setbacks in the economic progress. 2 days or 10 days war doesn't make much difference to Bharat. Even 20 days battle also shall not make much difference to Bharat. We won't be affected at all. But then it has to, if it prolongs, then of course our entire growth and development will be arrested, and China need not to fear the companies coming to Bharat. China need not fear that companies shall move to Bharat, because then no one will dare invest in Bharat because it is war zone. They won't feel safe. Now, of course, they feel safe, so they come to invest. They trust our banks, they trust our nation, they trust our society, they trust our law and order, so they would come. But if there's a battle and if that goes on, this can't happen. So the program of international companies shifting to Bharat, which shall make Bharat further strong, China is afraid of, because they wanted to control the whole world. And they are suddenly finding a serious competitor in Bharat, which China did not want. So the interest in this Bharat-Pakistan conflict, there are many people who find it interesting. There are many others. Russia, of course, is interested in the sense I find Russia is positively interested. Ukraine has to take a lesson. They did not. Then Israel naturally is always with Bharat. So the many nations interested in multiple ways, and many of them with their own selfish interest, their own business interest. Some others, of course, are not. So we shall meet again with some other thoughts. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.